Gamebox Monthly sends a new awesome indie tabletop game right to your door every month. There are multiple subscriptions to choose from, and you can personalize them to fit your style. Also, you're guaranteed to never get a title you already have, letting you focus on what matters most, having a great time with great people.
So visit GameboxMonthly.com and use the promo code DRAGON to get an exclusive discount just for the hell with this listeners.
Once again, that's GameboxMonthly.com.
Rediscover social. Welcome back to The Hell With This. This is a weekly podcast.
We try, anyway.
We try to be weekly.
My name is Mark Heiliger.
And Chad Peter. And we usually sit down with a friend who's usually has not seen the movie we're going to watch.
And sometimes we haven't seen it ourselves.
And we force them to watch it. Or, in this case, this week, neither of us have seen this movie, but we both heard good things about it.
Yeah.
So.
And bad things.
How you been?
I've been okay.
Yeah? Sounded like you had a crazy week. I don't know. Can you even talk about it?
I can talk in general terms. I better not get too specific.
Sure.
I had to basically back out of a job I had agreed to do, but there were still 3 weeks left. I know, I felt like total
Creating
asshole.
enemies, Mark. It's a bad thing to do in Hollywood.
It's a small town.
It's a very small town.
And yet, I don't know anybody, so...
Right.
I had to back out of a job in favor of another one that seemed better for my career. And I'm at a point now, I'm in my mid-30s. If I keep doing assistant editing for another 5 to 7 years, I'll be in my mid-40s.
Yeah.
Still assistant editing. So I've got to try
I've
still got to try making some moves to move up and find a better environment for myself.
I did, it's funny that you mentioned that because I did just yesterday read an article or an interview that our friend, I believe you know him, Neil Michael John, because you would have worked with him.
Yeah.
At Rock, Paper, Scissors. And he was an assistant editor for years and years and years and years, like over a decade, I think. And now he's one of the main editors there, I think.
He edited the movie at Sundance.
Yeah, and it just got into Sundance. So it was good to see, eventually, I feel like all the assistant editors I've known, except for you.
Thanks a lot.
But I'm saying
pointing out my
you
fucking
will get
flaws.
to that point.
I hope so. I mean, I do. I don't know. I mean, I want
Mark,
editing.
you don't have any flaws. You're flawless.
Thanks, man.
I know.
Except for my face.
Sure, pal. So you
but
had
yeah,
to
working in TV, like you get a lot of hours on the Avid.
Yeah.
And I just want it to translate into something.
Right.
Instead of just like, oh, it's a fucking job that I'll do for another 15 years before I get so fed up I have to leave the union and don't get my pension or anything like that.
Right. I don't think that'd be the case. I think it seems like, at least it's funny because my supervisor on House of Cards was always really good about making sure people got promoted over time. Because obviously on a show like that, they're going into their 6th and final season.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody on that show has been kind of bumped up over the years. And that's kind of, you want a supervisor that promotes that, obviously, because you don't want to just have somebody who keeps everyone where they're at and just doesn't rock the boat.
Yeah.
Because you need somebody who's going to bump you up. And if you're surrounded in a situation like that, yeah, you need to get out of it. If it's not going to be, if it's always going to be that same way.
And it's good. I guess it's a little easier on a show that has had so many seasons. And luckily they're getting a 6th season after all the Kevin Spacey news.
Yeah, right.
I've only gone back to a show for a consecutive season one time, and that was on Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. I've spent most of my time kind of like hopping around, and every time you do that, it's almost like starting over.
Right.
Or else a show only lasts 2 seasons, or blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So, I mean, there's not even enough time to promote people from within because your show's off the air.
Right. Well, yeah, I would say moving sideways is almost worse than staying on a show though like that sometimes, because sometimes I mean it's like the editors don't, unless they're completely lazy and they've given up on life, they're not gonna want to stay necessarily with the same show year in and year out
Mm-hmm.
over the course of more than 3 years.
Yeah. Well, eventually people want to start directing, or they want to
Well,
even start
they just want to
producing.
shake it up because like
Yeah.
it's an industry of people that were blind and anal enough to basically leave whatever they had behind home, move to Hollywood, throw themselves into a job that may or may not work out.
Are you
'Cause
describing our whole industry right
yeah,
now?
pretty much. And like, I think that those kind of people get unsettled easier. Like you need movement.
Mm-hmm.
Movement has to happen, and I think it's rare that you have the same people working on a show for more than 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. But then I think I'm talking completely out of my ass now, but a show like Modern Family, are they still making Modern Family?
I have no idea.
I don't know,
Probably.
but it seems
I
like
think they are, and now it's called This Is Us.
no, that's like a
different.
melodrama. That's a whole different
It's
thing
basically Modern Family, but they
without the
subtracted
comedy.
the humor out of it.
um, like Modern Family, I always heard was such a well-run show because they knew exactly what they were doing after like doing it for 3 years. It was just a sausage factory. They
Right.
knew exactly what was going to happen. So I think a lot of the post team and all the production people, they were just like, this is a dependable job. This is like working on The Simpsons. I'm set for the next 10 years.
Right.
And I don't even know if that counts as giving up on life. It's just people knowing what they're in for
Mm-hmm.
and seeing that it's like a pretty good deal.
Right.
I don't know. But I don't know anybody on the show. I'm not speaking from personal or even secondhand experience.
Right. So, but I assume the job you're moving into, obviously, it shows promise. Was it people that you knew already that work there?
No. Well, one person.
Okay.
I was
Like
I
how'd you get this position, so to speak?
I had lunch with an old coworker from a different show called Mistresses for ABC.
That sounds like a high-rated, very classy show.
It wasn't. It's funny you should say that because it really wasn't. It was in its fourth season when I worked on it,
Uh-huh.
and I was not to denigrate the writers or the showrunner or anything. It
You
was.
heard it here first. Mark used to work in softcore porn.
No, it was like a very Desperate Housewives kind of show.
Right.
Like it was funny, but it was melodramatic. And it was just about the circle of female friends
Sure,
and
softcore
all the shit they get into.
porn.
Yeah, bukkake. It was a super easy job to work on.
Mm-hmm.
Like I look back on it now, going like, man, I wish I had that schedule again.
Right.
I could
I
ride.
seem to remember you talking about that before, like you would.
Yeah, I probably have, but I could like ride my bike to the office.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't have to spend money on gas. I was out of there by 7 o'clock most days. It was pretty nice. The show got canceled after that season,
Sure.
and I think it only got on the air in the first place because I had Alyssa Milano.
Right.
I forgot what the fuck was I even talking about.
Well, you were talking about how you got the job and you had
Oh,
lunch.
that it was another assistant editor from that show that I had lunch with recently, and I kind of told her what I was going to,
Yeah.
and she was like, "Oh, well, if that doesn't work out or anything, I'm just gonna like give your name to these other people I know on this show that I'm going to," and they ended up seeing my resume, had a conversation with them, and it seemed suddenly like that was the place to be.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes shit just falls in your lap.
Sure. When do you start on that?
Early March. So as of this recording, I got like another month of unemployment.
Right.
Yay!
Well, yay! I mean,
I'm
enjoy
going to
it.
Universal Studios.
I'd say enjoy it because I thought I still had like another couple weeks before I start my job, and
It started early.
started early. I've been going to weeks. I'm going to meetings every week, and then this past Monday was my day where I was like, you know what, I need to be on this full time, or I'm going to be so underwater by the time it starts. And
What is your official title on this new job?
VFX supervisor.
Just briefly, the job is sort of a crossover between production and post-production. You have to be involved in both.
In both, yeah. So like
It seems like a good fit for you.
I just
because
have to, I have to be on set, which is great because that's what I wanted to get back to.
Yeah.
And now I get to while we're filming, like if something, having been an artist, like sitting at a computer going, man, I wish I shot this a different way. Like how am I supposed to work with this? At least now I can take that knowledge and go onto set and say, no, that's not going to work.
Don't shoot it that way.
Don't shoot it that way.
I've seen this before.
Yeah. What was it? A friend of ours who I won't mention he was given a shot, and I'm sure I've talked about this before, but I always use it as the example of what happens when you have someone who doesn't know what they're doing, being a VFX supervisor on set.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a shot of it was a girl on one side of the frame, and she was levitating a rock with her mind.
Are we talking about Last Jedi?
No, we're not talking about Last Jedi. She was levitating a rock with her mind, and so the rock floats up on the other side of the screen,
mm-hmm.
and it's basically it was attached to the way they shot it, they attached the rock to a stick, basically, and someone was off screen lifting the stick to hold the rock and make it appear like it's floating. And so visual effects, you got to go in, you got to paint out the stick.
Yeah, and all that.
Right. So you'd think, okay, that seems like a really easy thing to do, right? You just have somebody stand off screen. Well, they didn't need to shoot a plate. They just shot
because they could just use the other frames to paint
the same shot. It's not, they didn't have to do a rock on green screen or anything like that. They basically, what they did, instead of holding the stick from the side of the screen that the actress wasn't on, they stood on the opposite side of the screen, held the stick across her face in the shot, and held the rock floating. So they were like, they gave the shot to our friend, and he was like, what were you guys thinking? Because
now her face is blocked off.
Her face is blocked by the stick that's holding a rock, and when they could have easily been standing on the opposite side of the screen.
And now it's going to affect, like, even if you can get in there and paint out the stick frame by frame, it's going to affect her
so he had to,
face.
He had to rebuild the actress's face in the scene and paint out the stick because they shot it. I mean, to be fair, anybody who knows what the hell they're doing, even remotely, logically, would be able to figure out, like, oh, well, that's not how we're supposed to shoot that.
Yeah, like, you want to make things as close to the finished product as you can. Let's try not to block the fucking actors.
Right.
With shit.
So that's my new job, but it's also the same as what I was doing before, except that now I have to manage the team of artists. So, I'm looking forward to it. I don't know really if I'll continue doing that in the future. It just depends on, there's certainly more experienced people doing that out there, but I also don't know that those people necessarily have been. A lot of them haven't been visual effects artists. There's a lot that have just been producers and supervisors and don't necessarily know, like, they might be better at managing teams and budgets and stuff than doing the artist work.
Yeah, and you're more focused on that end.
So
but you've never had to come up with a budget before,
right? So we'll figure it out. It so far so good, but it's just a matter of making sure that there's so much more happening on that end of everything. Because usually on our side of it, post production, like we only have to show up a bit later, and once filming has already begun, and unless you're with an editor who's editing like the very first episodes that were shot, usually you don't even come on until a month after those people have started their jobs. So it's already like 3 or 4 months after production has started.
It's a little late to be coming up with new ideas for how to shoot things then.
So that's usually where, people like you or me would come in. So now it's like the opposite. I'm there, we start shooting, a month from now, basically, or a couple weeks from now. So, yeah. So I'll be able to talk more about it in the future, but
It's a very exciting time in both of our lives.
It's an interesting time in both of our lives. Yes.
I think
No,
exciting
it is.
applies.
It is exciting. Yeah.
You know, even if it's
it's a
even
change.
if you're full of fear and anxiety, that's still a kind of excitement.
Well, I still believe if you don't feel anxious, if you feel too comfortable like you did in your mistress's job, as good as it is, you do get lazy and you get complacent, and then before you know it, 10 years has gone by.
Right. Plus, yeah, even if a job like that lasts that long, if it's easy, you probably aren't learning anything.
Right.
You have to be a little bit challenged, hopefully not so much that you have to take a sabbatical or something from your job just to stay alive.
And by the time it ended, you'd probably be so bad at like social skills and getting into your next job that it would be terrifying. You'd be thinking about it'd be like
you go to the union mixer like, hello, I've been working with the same 5 people for the last 10 years.
So what show you been on? Mr. Sis seasons 1 through 10. Like
yeah. Well, that's, I mean, I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, but my girlfriend, Ashley, who's been on the show before, she used to work on American Dad. She was on it for like 7 years.
Right.
In various positions, but mainly as like storyboard artist. And a lot of the people that she worked with then and like started on the show are still on it now.
Yeah.
And it's been like...
Is it still on?
It's still on. They still make it for TBS.
Holy shit, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're still going. And I'm kind of...
Well, animation's kind of more of a family-oriented... I've noticed that, in general, not just the content, but like the people who work on the shows are more... Like, because we have a friend of ours who's worked in animated films, like, you know, Pixar-level type animated films. And he's been an editor for that. And, like... That process takes so much longer to make one movie. It's like a 3 to 4 year process.
Yeah.
Of having a
because they're constantly remaking the storyboards and like redesigning the entire movie from the ground up.
And some people like that, you know. I mean, there are people that definitely like they have a family, they're married, they have kids, and they just want consistency.
I mean, animated TV.
You can't be as reckless when you have a family to, you know, keep afloat.
You're assuming you like the family that you have.
Wow.
Some people are like, I got saddled with these fucking kids.
Well, in that case, be as reckless as you want, because they'll end up picking up their bags and leaving you.
Well, animated films do take a long time. Animated TV shows, they take longer than live action TV, but they're not going on for like, they have kind of a year-round schedule, but it doesn't take 4 years to get through one season of American Dad. They kind of turn it into a machine like that.
Right.
But my point was, a lot of the same people who were on it back when it started are still on it now. Someday, eventually, who knows when, American Dad is going to get canceled.
Sure.
And those people will have been working on American Dad and nothing else for the last 15 goddamn years.
Is that insane?
And what are they going to do? Like, now the...
Not to mention it's a totally different animation process.
Yeah.
And
from show to show, it varies so much.
Yeah.
Like, some shows use Adobe Flash to do their animation.
Right.
Like BoJack Horseman does that. And everything on American Dad is still...
South Park. I don't know what South Park uses, but, you know.
Yeah, but there's just different things. And one day... I mean, who knows when, but one day the job market is going to be flooded with all these people who have only been working on Family Guy or American Dad
Simpsons.
or whatever. Or Simpsons. Yeah, I mean, I think those people just retire. They've been making enough money.
Yeah. Right.
But then what's next for them? There's only so many jobs. And if you've only had that experience for the last decade, it's going to be harder to find that next thing.
Right. Anyway, hey, you know what? We're watching a movie today. Did you know that?
Are we? I thought we were just talking shop for like 3 hours.
Right. So we're watching a movie called Outlander.
With Jim Caviezel.
Not to be confused with Outlander, the TV show that's just as popular, if not more so, on Starz Network.
Oh, definitely more popular than this movie.
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen actual like billboards for that show.
I would tell you what the synopsis is. We have it pulled up on the screen, but it's written in German.
Oh. Keinen stürzt mit seinem Raumschiff auf der Erde ab und findet sich im Norwegen
Yeah,
des
okay, stop.
sieben
You
Jahrhunderts.
can stop at any time now.
Okay, somebody finds himself in the year 700 in Norway.
Heiliger. Mark Heiliger is German.
I'm not German. I mean,
Well.
like 3 generations ago, my family had some Germans.
So right in the middle of Nazi Germany.
No, that was like 2 generations ago. Before that.
Anyway, so this movie, I remember seeing a trailer for it, and it looked like this crazy, like, Middle Ages mixed with aliens from outer space or something.
Right. I think
wacky.
The basic plot was Jim Caviezel is a time traveler who's hunting aliens who have come back to like the period of Vikings.
Yeah.
Like it's sci-fi with Vikings. That's what this movie is.
And I remember seeing the trailer going, holy shit, that looks crazy. It actually looked good the way they filmed it. I was like, well, this looks like it has potential, but then it got panned. Like
Yeah.
It just got torn apart by critics. And I think that's just too many eggs in one basket. Like, it's one of those mixing of genres that the super fans and the people who love like sci-fi fantasy are probably going to eat right up.
Yeah.
Everybody else is going to go, this is dumb. Why am I watching this?
I guess I'm worried that it might have like too much shit going on, or that it'll just be a really cheesy early 2000s. What year was this?
No, this wasn't even that long ago. It was like 2012 maybe.
Really?
2010?
Seems like earlier than that. I don't know. I just hope that it is made with some amount of care, and they aren't just trying to like do a bunch of lame action sequences. And
2008.
2008. Okay, that's about what I thought. I guess not early 2000s.
I mean, it's described as Beowulf meets Predator.
Yeah,
so,
which sounds pretty cool to me.
I was gonna say, I feel like even though this is that now 2 weeks in a row we've done a movie neither of us have seen.
Taking a chance
again. But for some reason, this is one of those movies that, I think when you say a cult movie, you're referring to something that kind of disappeared when it came out, which this did.
Halloween 3 did as well.
But
and that didn't turn out that well.
And people say, oh yeah, that movie's amazing. And you're like, really? That movie that disappeared and I remember people saying was terrible, and now people are saying it's great. So that definitely is a sign of sometimes movies just they're bound to fail no matter what when they first come out, I think. And
I think
it has to find its audience.
Science fiction has a hard time internationally. So if we're talking about the global market, it's harder for a movie like this to take off and find a real foothold.
Right. Well, especially nowadays when every fucking movie is based on a true story and everything has to be tied to reality. Otherwise, what's the value in it? Like, that's really...
I haven't heard that argument.
Really?
But okay.
That seems to me like... but I asked my dad what his opinion was on detective films and like what was his favorite detective film, and his response was, detective films are bullshit, it's all fake.
What?
Yeah. I was like, what are you talking about? But ever since I heard that, like, I've kind of noticed there's a general sentiment around people that, it's like people who are film snobs like us, but like film snobs like the ones who go to ArcLight, like me.
Like you.
Like me. And watch movies like Phantom Thread, like me. They want something a little bit more gritty and based in reality.
Like it's about a human experience.
It could happen, whereas Star Wars, if Star Wars came out today, it probably would fail, like for the first time. Like if A New Hope came out today, it'd probably fail.
Where it's more of a general good versus evil thing. It's a crowd pleaser, but it's
crowd
not,
pleaser, but it's so...
It doesn't get caught up in Luke Skywalker's...
It's not tied to people's lives. Like, they have no emotional investment. They haven't grown up with it. What about a Star Wars movie, can... what about it is going to affect them in today's world? It'd be kind of... It'd probably be, probably just come and go.
Maybe. I think there's always room in life for a good action-adventure movie, which is what I think this is. But we'll see.
I don't remember the last good action-adventure movie that came out. I mean, they're all Marvel movies now.
Yeah, I think, they're all comic book movies now.
Which is funny because in the late 90s, if you would have told me that, I would have been like, that's fucking amazing because we have nothing right now. We've got like
We have Blade.
we have Blade. That was about as good as it got, which
Hey,
was still pretty damn good at the time.
Oh yeah, that's a great movie. And Blade 2 is even better. Maybe I'll bring that on the show sometime because I love it.
Yeah.
Love it, love it, love it. Did you ever see 1994's Fantastic Four movie?
No.
The Roger Corman one?
No. I wanted to. I remember wanting to.
I mean, it was made purely to hang on to the rights.
Right.
But, oh, Jesus, God, it was so bad.
It was back in the days when comic book movies were still expected to fail, even though I don't understand how after Batman did so well.
Yeah,
I'm surprised that didn't spin
Batman
off.
Returns did very well, too.
Even though it wasn't as good. But actually, the movie's grown on me quite a bit.
I think I like Batman Returns more than Batman.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, it's close. They're very similar, but we're
I'm
getting off on a
sorry.
fucking tangent here.
Michelle Pfeiffer in Batman Returns is still the pinnacle of female sexuality as far as I'm concerned. It taught me what it was to be a man, basically, that movie.
Wow.
So,
Well, thanks for sharing, Chad.
not literally.
Maybe you should go have another episode of
All right, can we
Jake
just
Lloyd's
watch this damn
podcast.
thing?
Yeah, we can watch this damn thing.
So who are you, Outlander? And why were you there?
Something got on my ship and killed my crew.
What?
Death.
You think you can frighten us with children's stories?
This is no story. It got in our compound and killed men, beasts, everything.
There's nothing like that here.
Yes, there is. Because I brought it here.
We're gonna hunt this thing down and kill it.
Can't take it on in the open. It's too powerful.
Well, what else is there?
That movie really didn't end. It kept going. It
Exactly.
It lasted longer than it should have by about a half an hour.
Yeah, I think that may have been the big problem with it, really. They kept on extending the climax, like right when you think that, okay, they're going to burn this thing alive. Oh, it survives that.
And then they
it
did.
runs
And
away.
then, oh, wait, it had children. Oh, okay, we got to go kill the child first. Okay,
Yeah.
it killed it.
Honest-
Oh, wait, the big monster's back alive again. Oh, my God, let's throw it off a cliff.
Yeah, and I guess having the alien creature monster have, like, spawn that you also have to fight, that's kind of a cliche
Yeah.
in the genre of
It was
alien
kind of
monster movies.
unnecessary. I mean, when they were trapping the big beast in the oil pit to light it on fire and kill it,
Mhm.
the thought did occur to me, well, this seems a little early to kill this thing.
Yeah.
But they took that and kind of went like way too long with it.
Well, I guess I wish they could have found a way to combine all the different things they did to kill two monsters
Right.
into one big set piece. Like the little baby dragon thing, they blinded it and then it was kind of like groping around. If they could have involved that with the big one instead, that would have made a better suspenseful kind of scene.
Well, okay, looping back around before we get into like our problems with it. What did you
What did I think
What
of
did
the
you
whole
think
movie?
of the movie? Yeah,
I
well,
thought
if
it
you
was
graded this out of 10, what would you give it?
like a B minus. Oh, out of 10, a B minus.
Yeah, I'll be minus out of 10.
Out of 10, I'd give it like a 6. Perfectly.
That's actually what I was gonna say. It's pretty much a 6 out of a 10 movie.
Yeah.
It wasn't terrible.
It's an adequate movie.
It was fun to watch.
It's fine. It's like a fun thing, but I think when they involve the other Viking tribe, that's one of those things that was making it last too long.
right.
And honestly,
And they really didn't even do anything with that. Like,
no, it was over as soon as it began.
okay, so the plot of the movie is
Maybe we should clear that
Yeah.
up first.
Jim Caviezel, basically, since no one is gonna have seen this movie,
Yeah.
crash lands on the planet
He is of an alien species that, centuries ago seeded life on Earth.
Yeah.
That is the implication.
And basically, he was out with his people hunting, or basically just finding a new planet, exterminating everything on that planet, and basically he was, as a reward, he was given land to raise his family and everything. But of course, shit went south.
Like part of their terraforming process is to destroy all life forms on the planet first.
Yeah.
So they basically nuke the whole planet, and they let one of these monsters survive, and it comes back and kills everybody in the whole village.
Yeah, kills his family, gets on a spaceship, and it's on a spaceship with them apparently.
Yeah, I thought they were going to clear up why that happened.
And he brings it to Earth.
Yeah. Well, that whole flashback sequence, that's what I wish this movie was. Like, how they even got here is more interesting than what they do once they're here. Like, the whole story of he's working for, like, an ostensibly... I don't know. I don't want to say good or evil, but he's working for a company or a government or something that doesn't mind wiping out all the alien life forms on this planet just because they're greedy for the land. They need to keep expanding. It's like a statement on capitalism, sort of. And then he realizes this thing killed my family, but only after I killed his entire species.
Right.
And I thought there would be some sort of like man-animal meeting of the minds. Like they spend the whole movie fighting each other.
You thought they were gonna hug it out?
I don't know. But I thought they would at least have some sort of a resolution where they both got what they wanted because they both got royally fucked. Like it's not their fault. It did seem like
the big alien creature acknowledged the fact that Jim Caviezel basically was.
It seemed to
part of the guy. Yeah, it seemed like it kind of locked in on him. But it's not like it just spoke up and said, "Hey, you killed my family."
It is just a big animal, but I don't know. Doesn't that seem like a better idea for a story?
It also seems like a $100 million plus movie.
Not
I mean,
necessarily.
you said they spent what, $50 million on
this movie? Was a $50 million
grossed
movie.
How much domestically?
Domestically, it was $160,000.
They spent $50 million, made $160,000.
Globally, it only made $7 million.
Globally, they got fucked. Basically.
Like I remember seeing the trailer online and going like, "Hey, this looks pretty cool." I would have seen it if it was in theaters anywhere in America. It probably had a 2-week run in LA and New York.
Well, it was also released at probably like the worst possible time to release a movie like this, which was 2008.
So Barack Obama's in office by now.
Right when Blockbuster and all the home video rental stores were dying.
Oh, yeah, this movie would have done very well.
Before iTunes and Netflix were really like taking off.
I think Netflix was very well positioned.
This was back when they pissed everyone off by creating a streaming service and charging separately for it, and their stock plummeted to like nothing.
Yeah.
It was not the best time.
I still feel like if they had bothered to advertise this movie, it would have done okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, it got far enough to see both of our eyes.
Right.
Like the trailer did.
I mean,
we still didn't.
It's on a Blu-ray disc with a ton of extra features. They thought this was going to be... Huge. They took the time to collect all that stuff and put it on the disc. So.
Yeah. And they got it. They paid for the cast. I mean, it's a decent cast.
Yeah, I mean...
Caviezel's not like he doesn't have the widest range.
No.
But he's...
But this was after Passion of the Christ, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was like 2004.
Maybe this was his way of saying, like, you know what, I'm gonna clean my slate.
I mean, he's done other action movies. There was one called Highwayman, where it was like a serial killer using cars to kill people, and Jim Caviezel was like the good guy, also using cars to catch him. It was weird. It was a strange concept, but he was in that. He's done lots of movies like this.
So you just drive them over? Like,
yeah.
You go find them. I'm like, I'm gonna serial kill you with my car.
Well, yeah, like Death Proof, sort of.
Okay. Huh. I mean, I can see why this movie still has people who like it. It reminds me a lot, like that Christian Bale, Liam Neeson movie. Was it Liam Neeson who was in that? It was like dragon hunting in the future or something like
No,
that.
Matthew McConaughey.
Matthew McConaughey, that's it.
Rain of Fire.
Yeah.
Rain of Fire.
And that was
Which I haven't seen. That's one
effectively
I should check
the
out.
same exact damn movie,
Oh,
but
set in like a post-apocalyptic.
but it had been released 10 years before this,
yeah,
or maybe not 10 years. It was like 2002. Something
that was a sort of a
and
medium
it did,
hit.
It did really well.
Yeah.
But that was a cross-genre movie too. I mean, obviously, I think Christian Bale and Matthew McConaughey are bigger sells than Jim Caviezel and John Hurt.
Mm-hmm.
But it was definitely, it felt very much the same style. This definitely reeks of like, oh, we're gonna make our own Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, but
Series.
we're gonna put in fucking aliens, guys.
Yeah, and then it's like maybe they saw how it was turning out and they decided, oh, we're gonna cut the VFX budget. You know, 'cause,
Yeah.
like, there was some pretty not great effects.
Yeah.
They weren't terrible, but they weren't like,
I was expecting worse, to be honest with you.
they might have like skipped a few revisions because they were like, this movie's not going to go anywhere.
Right. Let's quit dumping money into
Yeah.
it
Right.
endlessly. Maybe like, why do you think it got dumped? Do you think maybe they had a bad experience with Viking films? They were like, no, we've had enough Viking shit.
I mean, it must have tested poorly.
It must have, but it was so.
It had to have tested poorly, and they just decided not to dump any money into getting it out there.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I
it
guess
was. We did notice the very first thing when we put this in is the Weinstein Company logo popped up on screen,
right.
and my comment was, "This doesn't seem like a Weinstein movie."
But the Weinstein brothers aren't directing the things; they're just kind of picking it. They
Right.
must have thought that, oh,
But I just
we
can't.
need a sci-fi movie this year. This must have been their
Yeah,
tentpole.
I guess, yeah.
But then they didn't release it.
Maybe it was in the bargain bin, and they were like, "Oh, well, let's buy this thing."
That could be. Maybe it was like they were selling it for pennies on the dollar, and it was a good deal for them.
I see a whole wad of notes over there. What else did you write down?
Oh, just little things we could talk about. Like the cover of the DVD says it's a Beowulf meets Predator.
Right.
And the first thing that we see our hero do is like pull out his sci-fi toys and set up a beacon and learn how to speak Nordic or whatever through a weird machine that fries his brain a little bit. And the first word he speaks is fuck. That was pretty funny.
It was pretty jarring. Like he puts this little thing up that basically matrixes.
Yeah.
You know.
I know how to speak Norse.
Yeah. I speak Norse.
But I guess the first Predator connection is like, do you remember the scenes in Predator when he had his toys to like heal a place where he got shot or stabbed or something?
Green
blood, and he's got his little like arm computer. This guy has his little spaceship sunk in a lake. Like it's sort of.
Well, we don't see what it looks like for the monster.
not
We don't
until
see what it
halfway
looks like
through.
for a while, and for a while we only see a red thing kind of whipping around. It looked like it was shooting people, like the predators would do.
Right.
But it turns out to be the tail, just glowing red and whipping people.
Right. It sort of operates like an angler fish, those really ugly deep sea fish, where it's got the thing glowing in front of it to attract prey, and then it eats them real quick.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I could really tell it was a lower budget. I know $50 million is a lot of money to me, but it's a lower budget for this kind of movie. And I could see it in the action sequences because they all felt edited like a TV show.
Mm-hmm.
They were very clearly trying to stay away from a lot of effects heavy shots. There's this whole sequence where they're partying in their like Viking lodge, running around on shields that people are holding up like a moving floor, and they never show the feet hitting the shields.
No.
They just stick to their upper body running around in circles.
I mean, I guess they were kind of smart about that because they didn't have the budget to really probably take the time to shoot it.
Maybe do another fucking stunt then. I don't know. It stuck out to me as like, come on, don't do this if you can't show it.
This still had to be a huge shoot. I mean,
they had the one big village set. They had a lot of interiors. They had a big cave set piece.
And a lot of shots, I mean, where they were constantly cutting.
Yeah. Did you, I mean, the way this was shot was really boring to me. A
Yeah.
lot of the things were just centered. Anytime where they were against an obvious blue screen background, they were not using the blue screen to its fullest effect. They were just like, here is sky.
Right.
Here is a big empty shot with two people standing in the middle of it.
I noticed mostly they just added a mountain into the background, and that was pretty much it. Like, there really wasn't anything about it that was...
I guess not
I'd
every...
be curious to see where they actually shot this. I'm guessing it was
New Zealand, I think.
foreign. Yeah.
I think it was like Lord of the Rings territory.
It had to have been.
I guess I can't expect every movie to be the most artful or artfully shot thing, but it's like they weren't even trying. They just went and, here, plop down a camera. Let's get these two people talking over the shoulders.
Right.
There was nothing really creative about it. It was just sort of like coverage.
And
It was
that's
TV
probably
coverage.
why we haven't necessarily heard of the director since. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't recognize his name.
I looked up his credits. He wrote one of the Underworld movies, I think. I forget what else he directed.
In any
No.
case, like, I mean, I understand the value of it as a cult film, as just kind of being one of those cross-genre.
Yeah, it's definitely
Movies.
unique in what it's doing.
And it's
It
not
is-
terrible. It's just not great.
Yeah.
It's about the worst label you can put on a movie. It's okay.
It's okay. It's very mediocre. I can't even read some of my notes. It was the lights were out. I couldn't see what I was writing.
You write in Norse.
Yeah. Oh, that was another thing I read online. That the alien language he's speaking at the beginning before he learns English, essentially, is 12th century Icelandic.
Oh, so he was speaking.
So the aliens are Icelandic, and the hypothesis of this movie, if we, shoot out long enough, is that Earth, all humanity owes its existence to Iceland.
People
Take
from
that,
Iceland.
all you scientists who say mankind was, began in the Middle East or Africa.
Right.
Northern Europe. It's all white people.
I really have nothing else to say about this movie other than it was enjoyable to watch.
Oh,
I'm glad we watched it.
I guess I jotted down a few other like cliched things, but I guess we don't have to catalog all of them. The most obvious ones were every time they show a Viking character drinking a glass of mead,
Everybody goes,
"Ah!" Well, they cheer like that, and they also pour half of the glass all over their faces.
Right.
In their beards. Maybe they just like having a mead-flavored beard.
Mark,
But
I
it's
don't know
like
if
they
you
have-
know this, but that's how they showered.
Yeah.
It was just
The
by
alcohol just kind of
by pouring
sterilized.
mead and getting like all that honey glaze all over themselves.
Yeah, sounds very
Made
clean.
them more attractive to the ladies.
It was like
then the ladies
cologne.
could lick the chest hair and it'd be like
Gross.
like drinking a fine wine off of someone's gross chest.
Jesus.
What was my comment when we were watching the Viking
You
Hall?
said
I
that whole place must smell like balls.
ball sweat.
Sweaty balls.
Probably smells like ball sweat because no one takes showers. They've all got like kilts on.
Yeah.
Must smell wonderful.
Yeah, rubbing their buttholes on the benches and stuff.
Well, I didn't go that far, but thanks for painting that image in my head and everyone else's.
Viking buttholes. With braids. I'm sure they braid that hair too.
Seriously, how did we make it through those ages without like all of us dying of the Black Plague?
I don't know. I really don't know. Sometimes I wish we had.
I mean, a good amount of us did.
yeah,
but-
wasn't it something like a third of all of Europe died in the Black Plague?
That sounds about right.
Or half, almost
Wouldn't-
half,
wouldn't surprise
40%.
If it was more, but
Well, I guess I'm out of things to say. It's
Yeah.
it's an okay movie.
we didn't really sell this movie very well. I mean,
It's not our job to sell it. I don't
it's-
care if people watch
it's still worth a watch. If you liked Rain of Fire, I would say watch this movie.
Yeah, I mean it's got enough interesting things going on, but it is a little long-winded.
Yeah.
It should have wrapped up 30 minutes earlier than it did.
It's no Starship Troopers, I'll say that.
Hell no.
No.
The hell with this.
Hoorah.
It's Dragon Wagon.